haven't done a recipe review in a while, and the only proper way to do so is to go back where it all started, and that is Greg Doucette. And today, in the Anabolic Laboratory, we will be making Greg Doucette's strudel.
Would you like to try some of the rocks? Strudel?
I mean cinnamon roll. My name is Nick. I have my master's in exercise physiology. I'm an online fitness coach, and I do anything to do with food and fitness on YouTube. So if you're into that kind of thing, subscribe to the channel and like this video. I haven't delved that much into baking yet on YouTube, but what better time than the present? So let's get into it. To start off, I know Greg's whole mantra is to make this as easy as possible, but he's really not kidding. I think the ingredient list, 6 ingredients, like it can't get much easier than that. And there's 7 steps here. The first step is preheat the oven. That's simple enough. Second step is get everything into a bowl and whisk it up. So I will be back in 1 minute. Okay, bye. Just so you guys know, I did not have self-rising flour, so there is a way to just add baking powder and salt to it. Just look up the ratios. It would be easy to look up online once you have the recipe yourself. So pretty much instantly, I will say this is almost impossible with a whisk. I'm gonna use a fork here. So let me just get everything out of this whisk first. He certainly wasn't lying when he talked about sticky. I would say in order of operations, if you only have a whisk, use a whisk, but I know you have a fork. So a fork is the next best option. And then if you have one of these like rubber spatulas that you would use to eat a protein ice cream, then I would use the rubber spatula because you could really mix everything together so much better. Now I'm supposed to roll this ball, or roll this into a ball and then put this on a floured surface, but I feel like that's gonna be pretty hard. Since I've done pizza dough before, I know this is supposed to be like a 1/2 inch thick. This is kind of hard though. I got my hands wet. I think this is one of those things that if I did this a few times, I would get really good at it like I do with my recipes. But first time doing it, it's a little bit tricky. Now we make the filling. Looks pretty good. That looks like a nice consistency. I've made cinnamon rolls from scratch a couple of times, and this consistency does look very good. Wow, yeah, I love cinnamon, so I mean, this is right down my alley. These spatulas are also good if you have anything that's sticking. And right now, this is sticking. I put too much, it's spilling all out, but we're gonna see what happens here. Place roll onto a sprayed mug and drizzle any leftover filling. Okay, so a little bit confusing there, Greg. When I think place roll onto a mug, I think literally you mean place it on the mug. But I'm guessing you mean place into a mug. And this mug isn't huge by any means. But it's in there like that, and I guess I'm gonna put it in the oven because I measured it all out correctly. But this is what's hard about not having a picture or a video with it, because you kind of don't know where you should be at. I have a cinnamon bun that's rolled but is now like folded in half at the bottom of the mug. I assume the mug should have been like side to side with it in there. I don't know. I guess, like I said, we'll see. I'm gonna bake this like it says, but I'm also going to make another one while it's baking and see if I can make it better or if I did something wrong maybe, because I don't think that it should be folded in half in the mug. We shall see very soon. So we have made the first cinnamon bun. Aesthetically, doesn't look very pleasing. The second one here did come out better for the initial phase, So I'm gonna cook this one. Ironically, this is my only mug in the whole house because I don't drink coffee. Most mugs are short and fat. So I'm going to try one more time after this one to see if I can get it correct so I can give you guys those tips going forward if you do buy the book and attempt to make it. We are finally back. Not only have I made 1 or 2, but 3 of Greg's cinnamon rolls. This was supposed to be an hour, but ended up being 3 hours. But that's okay because every time you do a recipe, you learn something new. Attempt 1, attempt 2, and attempt 3, each one of them look aesthetically better with each and every attempt. However, I have a skinnier mug than usual. It is taller, but it's skinnier. And on my 3rd attempt, I thought if I measured how tall a regular mug was, which I found one of my roommates, then I would have a better idea of how wide I should make my rectangle for the actual dough. It was 3.5 inches, so I made it 3.5 inches, but it still didn't fit snugly or even close to snugly in here. It still folded over. But Greg's cookbook is not about aesthetics, it's about taste. The guarantee, or the supposed guarantee, is that it's an 8 out of 10, and that's what I shoot for in my recipes as well, to the real thing. So I'm gonna put this on like a cinnabon type of basis, the real thing, almost like a Ben & Jerry's comparison with the protein ice cream. What's also funny is these ones are super thick and the last one seems super soft. And these ones are soft, but these ones are much more thick and cakey. I'm gonna go one by one though here and see how they taste. First off, I tried the stuff that goes inside and that tasted extremely good. I would 100% give that an 8 out of 10 from the real thing. Does it taste like the real thing? Not exactly, but it's damn close. When it comes to this icing, and I have a very good vanilla protein, the icing tastes good, but it tastes like protein. Like you could tell it's protein. The icing, standing alone, would not be an 8 out of 10 compared to a real cinnamon bun icing. However, I think once everything is combined, that is what really matters. So that's a good idea to also just try this on its own. For only being a couple ingredients, I am surprised with how soft and cakey it is. It is very thick, but it's still soft and moist. Allie's favorite word. It's only gonna get better from there, so I wanna see what this one's like. It's funny because it's even like when I create my own recipes, it's getting better and better with each and every attempt. Let's try this 3rd one. This one is by far the best one, standing alone. I like mine more airy and soft than thick and soft. They're all moist, they all do taste good, but the 3rd attempt I made was definitely the best. Now we'll add the icing. So I thought just by looking at it that it was a lot of icing, and this kind of confirms that you could probably make half the amount of icing and still have more than enough. And I would make your icing right away, guys. Don't wait till it's done because the clumps of protein that are in there will dissolve in the mix once you let it sit. But if you wait until your cinnabon, whatever is ready, then you're gonna have like chunky protein. I only had to mix it one more time after about 10 minutes and everything dissolved in there completely. Once again, I'm gonna go one by one and kind of give my ratings and my feedback. This cinnabon does taste good. I wouldn't say very good. The reason being, I think what's holding it back, in my opinion, and for me, is the icing. The icing is so overpowering in protein taste that it takes away from the rest of it because the filling was excellent. And I'm glad I tried the cinnabons by themselves without any icing. The cinnabon by itself with the filling, excellent. But really, the icing is just throwing me off because it tastes like my protein. And it tastes good. Like I said, my protein's good, but I wanted more of like a real icing taste. The second one is better solely because the inside is softer and more moist than the first one. The 3rd one is by far the best. I think this just really proves that if you do a recipe one time, it's not gonna be perfect. I'm not great or perfect in the kitchen, but I know what I'm doing, and these were very simple instructions, but I still got caught up in many different ways. And it's not that the instructions were hard to read or anything, it's more just the fact that the first time you do something, you're never gonna be great at it. It doesn't matter if it's a sport, if it's cooking, doesn't matter. Weight training, you have to practice to get better. And just in 2 hours, I went from this, if this was a 5 out of 10, this is a 7 out of 10, and this is a 9 out of 10. Like, that's how much improvement just from making one and then making another back to back to back made improvements. Let me talk myself through this. This is hard because the filling's really good, the dough is really good, but the icing isn't that good. The dough itself is what I was most worried about, but it ended up being the best thing out of all three things. I thought the dough was about an 8.5 out of 10 to a real cinnabon, to a real cinnamon roll. The filling, like I said earlier, is about an 8 out of 10 to the real thing. So that was spot on and hit correctly. I just think that the frosting, it's not bad, but it's, yeah. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10, just because it tastes so much like the protein itself. So if I were to do this over again, which I would 100% make this again in the future, what I would do is I would do the dough exactly the same, I would do the filling exactly the same, but I would experiment with a little bit different of an icing. Now, if you take the average of those three, I would say that this would be about a 7 out of 10 overall. And if the icing was improved just even a little bit, that would make it up into that 8 range for me. Now, I realize I could be a complete moron, so I did 3 attempts to make sure that I was trying to do it as correctly as possible, and it did get better. But Greg, please let me know in video form if I did something wrong. You don't even have to respond directly to this video, but even if you open one of your videos and you're like, Coach Greg, I'm eating a cinnamon roll mug cake, and today I'm going to tell you how I became Will Tennyson's father. Then I would completely understand, oh mine looks completely wrong. I did something terribly wrong. I am a moron. Or I'm like, oh, that came out exactly the way it should have. What I think his goal is, as well as mine, is to make things that are comparable, that satisfy that quench for a ice cream or a milkshake or a cinnabon or cookie dough, and not have to go out and spend thousands of calories binging on it later on because you neglected yourself of it. And this fits the bill. And Greg, if you're looking for another guest feature in the 2.0 cookbook, the cookie dough would look beautiful in the dessert section. So I'm gonna go eat the rest of these, and it's 5 in the morning, so it's time to go to bed. But until next time, I will see you in that next one. Doucette.